Welcome to Martial Mastery Media. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss an episode. Like this video, share it with your friends, family, and fellow martial artists. And be sure to check out our other videos exploring martial arts styles, philosophies, and legendary warriors from around the world. Thank you for being part of our community. Now let's dive into a world where faith, discipline, and combat unite. When we think of monks and martial arts, the image of the Shaolin Temple instantly comes to mind. Bald-headed monks performing acrobatic feats, flowing through animal forms, and unleashing deadly strikes with serene focus. But Shaolin is just one part of a much larger, often hidden story. Across the globe, monks from different religious traditions have cultivated powerful martial practices, not just for self-defense, but as a sacred path toward enlightenment, discipline, and service. In this video journey, we explore the martial arts of monks from China, Japan, Tibet, Europe, the Middle East, and India. Get ready to witness how spiritual warriors have trained their bodies, minds, and spirits for centuries. 1. Shaolin Monks. The story of Shaolin martial arts begins at the famed Shaolin Temple in Henan Province, China. Founded in the 5th century CE, the temple became a cradle for Chan Buddhism, a form of Zen that emphasized meditation and physical discipline. According to legend, the Indian monk Bodhidharma introduced a set of exercises to help the sedentary monks develop stronger bodies and sharper minds. These evolved into the Yi Jin Jing and Shi Sui Jing, foundational texts combining breathing techniques, stretching, and strengthening drills. Over time, these practices fused with indigenous Chinese martial traditions to form what we now call Shaolin Kung Fu. The monks developed systems based on animal forms: tiger, crane, monkey, and more. They trained with weapons such as the staff, gun, straight sword, jian, and spear, qiang. What made Shaolin unique was how the martial discipline was always linked to Buddhist values: compassion, focus, and inner stillness. Through combat, they sought not violence but mastery of the self. 2. Sohei, Japan's warrior monks in medieval Japan. The Sohei, or warrior monks, emerged from powerful Buddhist temples. These monks were not cloistered ascetics but active participants in political and military affairs. Major temples like Enryaku-ji and Miyadera amassed private armies to protect their land and influence. Trained in weapons like the naginata, a curved polearm, the sword, katana, and archery, the Sohei were fearsome fighters. The Sohei adhered to the Tendai sect of Buddhism, but their lives were marked by conflict. They often clashed with rival temples, feudal lords, and even the emperor. The most famous Sohei warrior was Benkei, a legendary monk known for his strength and loyalty. Despite their spiritual roots, the Sohei were embedded in the samurai era's political landscape. Eventually, during the unification of Japan under Oda Nobunaga in the late 16th century, many of these monastic militias were crushed, and the era of the Sohei came to an end. Still, their legacy endures in Japanese martial history. 3. Tibetan warrior. Monks high in the Himalayas, Tibetan Buddhist monks practiced a unique synthesis of spirituality, meditation, and physical cultivation. The Vajrayana tradition emphasized transformation of the self through ritual, mantra, and movement. While not widely known for combat arts like the Shaolin, Tibetan monks did preserve practices aimed at enhancing strength, endurance, and control over the body and mind. One key element was the practice of tummo, or inner fire meditation. This allowed monks to generate heat in freezing environments, a skill linked to extreme bodily discipline. Tibetan monasteries also preserved yogic systems like the Trul Core, or magical wheel, involving dynamic movements, breathing control, and visualization. Though not martial arts in the conventional sense, these techniques were tools of empowerment, sharpening the practitioner's ability to survive, endure, and influence reality through disciplined intent. There is also speculation, supported by certain texts and oral traditions, that early Tibetan warriors trained in ritualized forms of combat, particularly to defend sacred sites and during periods of tribal conflict. While these systems were less structured than Chinese or Japanese martial arts, they were deeply rooted in the warrior spiritual ethos of the Himalayan world. 4. Christian warrior. Monks in Europe. Monastic martial traditions took a different form, particularly through the rise of Christian military orders during the Crusades. The most famous among them were the Knights Templar, the Knights Hospitaller, and the Teutonic Knights. These orders were composed of devout Christian monks who took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but also trained for war. These warrior monks fought in the Holy Land and across Europe, often defending pilgrims and sacred territories. Their martial training included swordsmanship, horsemanship, and the use of crossbows and lances. While the monks themselves often lived under strict rules, their military branches developed sophisticated combat systems that influenced European chivalry and knighthood. The Templars, for example, were known for their discipline in battle, forming tight ranks and using coordinated attacks. Their code combined religious devotion with martial valor, and their legacy has echoed in both historical records and modern legend. These Christian warrior monks represented a fusion of faith and force unique to medieval Europe. 5. Sufi mystics and Islamic warrior traditions. In the Islamic world, the Sufi mystics cultivated a path of inner purification and divine union. While many associate Sufism with poetry and whirling dances, some branches of Sufism developed martial elements as well. Among these were the Malamatiyya, ascetic warriors who valued humility and selflessness, and certain dervish orders that included physical training as part of spiritual discipline. In Persia and Central Asia, Sufi-influenced athletes trained in Palavani, a system combining wrestling, strength training, and sacred rituals. Practitioners performed in circular arenas called zurkhane, while chanting prayers and lifting heavy clubs, symbolizing moral and physical might. These arts were not only physical disciplines but spiritual journeys. Sufi warriors were also known to engage in real battles when defending their communities. The idea of the greater jihad, struggle against the self, was often reflected in the training, while the lesser jihad, external defense, justified physical readiness. Thus, martial practice in the Sufi context was as much about inner struggle as outward skill. 6. Hindu and Sikh warrior monks. In India, the concept of the spiritual warrior has deep roots. Ancient Hindu yogis were not only ascetics but also defenders of sacred knowledge. The Nath yogis, for instance, were said to possess siddhis, spiritual powers, developed through intense yogic and martial training. These ascetics carried staffs, tridents, and even swords, moving across regions as both mystics and protectors. Perhaps the most striking example of warrior monks in South Asia is the Sikh Nihangs. This martial order emerged during the Mughal-Sikh wars of the 17th century. Nihangs wore blue robes, carried swords, chakrams, and firearms, and practiced gatka, a martial art blending swordplay, stick fighting, and tactical movement. Nihang training emphasized fearlessness, spiritual devotion, and absolute discipline. Their lives were dedicated to protecting the Sikh faith and serving humanity. Gatka is still practiced today, and the Nihang ethos continues to inspire martial artists seeking to combine spiritual depth with combat readiness. Conclusion: across cultures and continents, monks have turned to martial arts not as a path to violence, but as a sacred discipline. From Shaolin temples to Japanese mountains, from Himalayan monasteries to medieval battlegrounds, from Persian arenas to Indian battlefields, these spiritual warriors cultivated inner strength to face outer challenges. They remind us that true mastery is not just of the fist, but of the self. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the martial arts of monks around the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with friends, family, and fellow martial artists. And explore our other videos for more insights into the world's combat traditions, philosophies, and legends. We appreciate your support, and thank you for being a part of the Martial Mastery Media community. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay humble, and stay sharp.